Looky here, it's the Pat and JT podcast.
Pat and JT podcast.
I can hear, like, you know, when I'm at home, I can hear the softest of noises. Like I'm one of those people, though. Are we starting?
We are.
Okay, so I'm one of those people that small noises drives me crazy.
Sure.
Those, what's it called? Misophonia?
Misophonia.
No, I think is what it's
and that's
called.
not small noises. That's like the chewing
That's like
and
breathing, chewing.
wow.
You know, like when you're just sitting there and you hear somebody
Yeah.
mouth breathing, like
Right.
my dog or something. I can hear them. Or
the crunching of ice.
yes.
Oh, that's just more of an annoyance
I was
than
going
a.
to say, it's not necessarily that you're hearing things that other people aren't. You just don't like it. what
There's
you're
some
hearing.
sounds I just don't like to
Yeah,
hear,
yeah.
but I hear them really well.
Right.
That's what
And
it
there are
comes down to.
videos on YouTube. God, what's it called? I need to text my son. It's a specific thing. It's like EHM or something where it's people record videos of like cats licking water or
Yeah.
people doing like that because people like listening to that stuff.
They
There are
like
people
it.
that like it.
There are hundreds
Fetish.
of thousands of views. Yeah.
By the way, welcome to the show, Dr. Lance
Thank
Kugler.
Hi, Dr. Kugler.
Thank you.
Kugler Vision. Never thought we'd be talking about this today.
Now I have to admit, Dr. Kugler,
We're
when
in the
you're
wrong sense here.
I've never met you in person, heard about you, known about Kugler Vision forever. And when you're walking up the hallway, I thought you were an intern. I was thinking if you were like in your 60s. Honestly, I really had no clue. I walked like Dr. Kugler, and like, yeah, I expect you to say, no, I'm his assistant. He'll be right up in a second.
No, it's me. Yeah.
That's awesome. You should know him by now because you should have had your consultation
I know Thursday.
Thursday.
Coming in Thursday. All right. Looking
Yep.
forward to it.
Yeah.
And my vision, maybe if my vision was perfect, I would recognize the fact that would be you from your website. But hashtag see Omaha.
There you go. Right?
Right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he hasn't been in yet,
Right.
so he hasn't seen the facility.
Oh, great. Okay.
And
So
everything. How long have you guys been
Thursday,
open
yeah.
now there?
So we've been at this new location since it'll be 2 years in August. Yeah.
Wow.
Believe
it just
or
seems
not.
like it was just last year.
I know.
Holy
We
smoke.
still feel like we're moving in. I mean, we're still kind of
Yeah.
optimizing it.
That's
know?
awesome. That's
So-
it is so cool, and it's so comfortable because it doesn't feel like you're in a doctor's office.
Yeah, the idea was to feel more like a spa, you
Mm-hmm.
know, more comfortable, and it's what it should be, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're going for with the ambiance.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. So back to these videos, Pat.
I don't know what they're called, and my son's sleeping. Otherwise, I would text him. But the other like videos on YouTube of it's the weirdest things, man. Of people that making certain noises that some people think are soothing. Other people like have what you have think it's annoying. But
Yeah.
the cat's licking. It's like the clicking of pens.
Clicking of pens. Oh my God! And
Click,
he
click,
is
click, click, click.
he
I'm a
does that
clicker.
all the time. It's like I can hear him from the other end of the building. Pat, put down the pen.
I know. It's just it's a nervous habit.
Did you ever have those fidget spinners when those were a thing?
Yes, I
You
actually
were
have
into
one in
that?
my. I have one
I
in my
liked it.
car.
How about a fidget cube? Did
Yeah,
you ever have a fidget cube?
I didn't have
No.
one. My daughter had one.
Yeah.
They have,
With
but
all
you
the
wouldn't like
buttons.
it. Yeah, and the clickies. You
All
wouldn't
the
like
different
that.
things you could do. Yeah,
Yeah.
that fad didn't last long.
Yeah, it
That's
didn't.
fair. I have
My kids had them, and then they were
the
gone.
spinner. Yeah, I have one in my car. It looks like Batman.
Yeah, and that's a
bad.
cool one.
A Batman fidget spinner.
Fidget spinner.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I do. Have
I've got
that.
this little thing in my. I don't know. You're an eye doctor, so you can't help me with this. But
No,
inside
I'm-
my lip, I have I bit. I'm not
Like a
bit, but
canker sore?
No, it's when a long time ago, probably 10 years ago, I smashed my mouth into the headboard of my son's bed, like wrestling with him, and my tooth went almost all the way through. I'm okay now though, but it's like scar tissue in there, so I play with it constantly. If you see me doing this, it's because I'm playing with that ball of scar tissue. I just want to bite it out. It drives me. But I can't not do it. It's one of those things, It drives me nuts.
Yeah, you're right. I got nothing for you on
Yeah,
that.
can't
help
help
you
me
there.
with that.
No, not at all.
You can do that all day because that doesn't bother me.
You
one
can't
bit.
see me doing this?
Can't see it. It doesn't, and I can't hear it either.
Really?
So I'm fine.
I can hear it. It's going. Tick, 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 tick,
You
tick,
should
tick.
make a video of that and play.
Really?
There might be people that like that.
monetize
I'll
that
tag
baby.
Kugler Vision.
That's right.
Done. I'm writing that on my notes.
That's awesome. That'll be perfect. Oh my gosh. All right. So, what is going on in the world after this weekend?
What did you do this weekend, Dr. Kugler?
So I'm actually out of town every weekend between May 2nd and July 15th, except this weekend. And it's not exciting things really. It's my kids are involved in a lot of activities and sports, and so we tend to do a lot of traveling. This time of year, there's a lot of tennis and a lot of track, which is what three of my kids are into right now. So there's a lot of those going on, and so this weekend I was actually home.
Nice.
It's a rarity, right?
Yeah,
Right?
which was nice.
Kinda
So
nice.
it wasn't very exciting. I got caught up on a lot of things at home that I needed to be doing. So
Was
it
it
was nice.
this weekend was like a year in a day? It was like the hottest day of summer
Yes.
on Saturday, and then Sunday it smelled like fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't it crazy?
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was. I walked out yesterday morning. I was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was cold.
It felt good.
Yeah, it felt great.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, it
crazy.
felt
Went to
awesome.
breakfast with mom and dad, and had to grab a jacket. I get there, my mom's in a coat.
Yeah, it was
But
chilly.
it was early, but it was chilly. They both had their jackets with. Everybody else had a jacket with them too. And I'm like, this is June.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
Somebody posted on Facebook too. Didn't think I'd need a stocking cap today. He was out working in the yard, and he's
Right.
bald, and he had a stocking cap on.
It's chilly.
June. Yeah,
Well, it was
right.
90 degrees, 12 hours early.
Yes.
Almost. Yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
it was unusual.
Really crazy.
So our tennis parents as crazy as soccer, baseball, football parents?
Well-
you think more like those
More
like
reserved and
golf,
refined?
tennis? Yeah, they seem more
Yes.
respectful parents, more respectful fans.
Well, let me tell you, I've thought about this a lot because I have 5 kids, and we've been involved in just about every sport that you can be involved with. And I'll tell you, there's a difference between the team sports and the individual sports. So my daughter's a swimmer, right? So that's individual sport. There's not a lot of drama and not a lot of argument between parents because it's all based on how fast your kid is. The time, you can't argue with the time.
Right.
It's like you can argue all you want about who should be swimming, what stroke or whatever, but if your kid is 0.3 seconds faster than mine,
a good point.
who's going to argue about
There's
it?
no
right?
contact.
Right. So
Right?
there's not
So-
as much argument with it. Tennis is that way too because it's an individual sport and there's not a lot of argument. You look at the results of the matches and the rankings are what they are.
Right.
You can get some drama during a match like
What do you call the officials? Are they the judges?
referees.
Referees.
Yeah.
That are sometimes.
And officials.
Some of the officials
So
will catch
so
some
here's the
some
thing
heck.
about tennis.
Okay.
There is no referee or official during the match that's actively watching the match. So the kids are making their own calls.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Wow.
Right.
Wow. So on your honor.
Right. You don't get an official referee active until very high level tennis,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because even
Yeah.
volleyball, you have somebody right there on the
Every
net.
other sport you can think of, there's, little,
Officials.
but T-ball, when you're 5 years old, there's an umpire, right?
Right.
So,
Which is ridiculous, by the way.
yes.
I'm just saying.
That's
to go
more
on
for,
record.
That's for the parents.
Yeah, keep them at bay.
Right?
Yeah.
Right, but tennis is the kids are on their own making the calls, and so which can generate some arguments. But there's also like a very hard and fast rule that parents are no one's allowed to coach or talk to the players during a tennis match.
Okay, we just saw that happen at the highest level not
Yes.
too long ago with Serena Williams.
Exactly. So
right? That they
yes.
were coaching from the stands, and it was like
Not allowed.
Not allowed.
It's not allowed.
Right.
So tennis is like the kids are on their
Wow.
own. They have to figure out the score on their own. If they disagree on the score, the parents can't like correct them.
I
or-
wrote it down over here.
Yeah.
No.
That's not
Wow.
valid. Yeah. So it's really
interesting.
unique. And
I like that though because, like in golf, you have to keep track of your own
yeah,
score.
golf is similar. Yes.
You're responsible for.
So
Assessing your own
Tiger's really
penalties.
writing down his own score.
They have to.
Can the caddy do it, or does Tiger have to do it?
I
or does
think
it
he
matter?
has to do it, and then he has to sign off. At least he has to sign off on it, and I would rather write it myself
Yeah.
than rely on someone
yeah, I mean, when you
else.
get to the the PGA level, I think there's there's
probably-
officials throughout the golfing, but when you're younger, the kids are making their own
Yeah.
calls and their own penalties and everything. So the individual sports,
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. So you don't have as much of the active drama for sure because the parents aren't really
Right.
involved and there's no argument over who should be playing and who shouldn't because it's an individual sport.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. So there's pros and cons.
I can see. I was always drawn because I showed horses growing up, so it was kind of like an individual sport, but not because the parents were really active as well. I'm just thinking back about that. It's like, yeah, because there were some parents.
Yeah.
That would get right up there on the rail and they were yelling at this and that. And when I judged for many years too, and I would have parents in my ear on the other side of the fence,
Yeah.
telling me, you don't know what that horse did last week, or that horse was number 1 at nationals over here, or this. And I'm like, I'm going over here. I'm like, just leave me alone.
I loved that stuff, though, when I was
Or go
playing.
sit down.
I
you
love
know?
that stuff. I did. I love being on a basketball court and getting just screaming and parents yelling at the official
And
and
the team-
coaches
the team
screaming.
stuff. Well, yeah. Were
I
they
loved
yelling
it.
at you?
I didn't play individual
Okay.
stuff. Probably. My coach was yelling at me. I don't know if the parents were yelling at me. But I stuff fired me up.
A few years ago, my son was playing baseball and his game was delayed by like half an hour. And we got there, and I figured it was because of weather or something, but we got there, and it was because the game before us, a fight had broken out between parents, and the police were there.
Jeez.
And, there was actually an
That is
altercation.
crazy.
And this was 9-year-old baseball. He was 9 years old at the time.
Oh, my God.
So it tends to bring out our worst tendencies, I think.
Wouldn't you hate to be, you're that parent, or you're with that parent, that family, and the police get called?
That would be awful. Or or the kid and your dad is up there starting to fight, or your mom and moms, or whatever it was. That would be terribly embarrassing.
Right.
I can't think of in any sport where the parents were that rambunctious that the kids were like, "You got it, Dad. Thanks. Thanks, Dad.
Right.
Way to go. Get on him, Dad." Usually the kids are like, "Oh my God, just make it go away. Please make it go away."
But don't you think it's gotten so much worse than like when we were kids? I just don't remember that. Maybe I was just unaware of it.
I think it's gotten, I don't know if it's gotten worse, but we see it more because of social media. I'm 45, and I remember playing 12, 9, 10, 11, all the way up through high school, and always having the parents jaw at the officials, and it was never, there was never a mean side of it. Like, it was never, as soon as the game was over, it was over. It never spilled over into the crowd.
Do you think that
it's
because it's more competitive? Because a lot of these kids they don't play school. A lot of them are trying to get on the elite clubs and play on those teams because there's that high competition level.
It used to be you could play just rec baseball, for example, and you could just play. You'd have like one practice a week, and you'd play a game or two on the weekend, and that was the season. And it was fun. And that, I was a terrible baseball player, but I played on a team where there was a kid on my team that ended up playing professional baseball. So we were all in the same team because we just happened to be in the same neighborhood. Right. Well, nowadays that doesn't happen. That kid would have been on a AAA elite team, and I would have been on a single A scrub team. But whatever the case may be, I think now the stakes feel so high. It's like, oh, you got to get to this next level. You got to get to this next team.
And it's so expensive.
Yeah.
And they invested so much money in it. Facilities, you're playing 40 in time. You're investing 45, 50 games a season.
Unbelievable.
Sure. Yeah. You're right.
Like
You're that much time, that much money, and then you look and you think your kid's not getting a fair shake. I suppose it would fire you up.
It would. I think it would, because at that point you're thinking, why did you even let my kid on the team if you're not going to let him play?
Right.
And then they're getting mad.
Yeah, and then at the end of the season, it's like they sort of divide up the teams again, and the kids are reassessed and reassigned, and so it's like there's this constant thing that everybody's shooting for. And so I think that all brings out emotions that maybe weren't there.
Way more competitive.
Yeah, it's just more competitive in general.
Jeez.
And there's always little shooters of alcohol in the outhouses at those on those court. Remember, we talked about this before.
I know, we did.
Every single time I go into the
ballpark,
outhouse, yes, there's always in there. There's little shooters, Fireball. There's vodka. So these parents are getting juiced.
They're numbing themselves.
They're one of the two. They're either getting fired up or they're trying to take the edge off.
Maybe.
I don't know which one it is.
Man, that doesn't help. Or maybe it does help. Maybe it'd be a lot worse if they didn't do that.
I don't remember years ago. I don't remember every gas station carrying those. It was a shock to me when they started selling individual cans of beer.
Yeah.
And you'd have bottles of liquor, but then when they started shooting the little shooters, now they have like this bucket of them next to the cash register when you're checking out at Hy-Vee.
Right.
You just like scoop a handful.
It used to be the only place you saw those were hotel rooms and airplanes.
True.
Exactly.
That is very
That's
true.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. And you always wanted to get a hold of. It's like, oh, I wish I could get a hold of some of those. You couldn't. They weren't marketed.
And you see people that are at like Hy-Vee gas or whatever, and they grab, give me 2 of the Kinkies, and they take 2 of them. Like, those aren't even making it to the road.
Nope.
You're not taking those home.
pouring it in the Yeti.
And then they go, do you guys have a bathroom? There's a big sign. I know what you're going to do in that bathroom. You're going to go pound those shooters, dude.
Couple of pink Kinkies.
Come on. You're not being caught dead with some pink Kinkies, Randy.
No, that's funny. Oh, my God. Holy, how old are your kids? Or just the range?
16, 14, 12, and 9.
Wow. Oh, my
12,
goodness.
12 is in twins?
Yeah. Yeah, we had a set of twins in there.
Got it.
We should all be twins, by the way.
Should we?
Yes.
What's your reasoning?
They just have it the best. From day one, they've got a partner.
Yeah.
Never bored,
crime.
always somebody to do something with. They learn how to share at a very, very young age. So I just think they have a great
So watching the other kids, the older kids grow up first, or going through those 4 years without, then you had the twins. You see the difference.
You see the difference.
Major difference.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like a little gang of 2
Yeah.
against everybody? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it kind
cool.
of them against the rest of them?
They a little bit. They sort of have a little, probably a bond that you can't have otherwise.
I remember in school we had and I was in a small town in Ashland, and the year that in the years in high school we had 6 or 7 sets of twins.
Jeez.
It was crazy.
Wow.
Both fraternal and identical. But there were twins everywhere. I mean, in my class, I can think of 3 pairs, 4.
That's crazy.
Yeah, small town like that. I don't know if they were all homegrown. I think they all were in the water. I'm not sure. I was on the south side of town though, wrong side of the tracks.
Right.
So probably was.
Are yours identical? Fraternal.
Fraternal.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I don't know many sets of twins, but the one of the sets that I do know are identical, and it's almost impossible
Crazy,
to tell them
right?
apart. Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, to
That's
this
got to be
day.
weird for them, I would think. Since yours are fraternal, not. But
Yeah.
for ones that are identical, they grew up with it. It's not that big of a deal, I guess. But
I think that'd be
Well,
awesome.
it's funny about ours is they couldn't look more different. I mean, you would hardly even know they're brothers. They look that different, but at least in my eyes. But people will get them confused all the time because they think they look the same.
Isn't that
So
something?
it's really funny. Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah.
Huh.
But they don't really don't look alike at all to
As
my
far
eyes.
as you're concerned.
Yeah.
Very different personalities.
Yeah, very different interests, personalities, hobbies, things like
Yeah.
that. Kind of different friends, everything.
Isn't that crazy?
so with one of your kids, 16, right? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Oh,
So
yeah.
getting ready to start thinking about ACTs and college and all that kind of stuff.
She's going to be a junior. So
Okay.
we're kind of starting that whole process now, which is kind of mind blowing that we're at that stage. But
I
we
saw
are.
the signs. It's funny to see the yard signs. It's like ACT, SAT
Yeah.
prep here.
Yes.
And it's like, God, I don't remember them doing that when I was a kid.
Well, that's another thing
yeah.
that's changed. I mean, now
Yeah.
everyone takes an ACT prep thing. I mean, I remember I just kind of went in on a Saturday and took it.
Yeah.
Yes,
And that was just
exactly.
how it
What was your score?
I don't even remember anymore.
Yeah. Mine was a 17.
My daughter was asking me, and I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, I'm-
Because that just kind of tells you how important I
Right,
thought
it doesn't
was.
matter.
Well, it didn't at the time. It was just I didn't even know what the consequences were of it. Really, it was like, well, you got to take this and go to college. And it's like, well, I wasn't really planning.
right after
I'm
that.
going
and
to
it's
go
never
to
been brought
college.
up- never been brought up
I'm
since.
going to college, and then I got just enough that I got a scholarship for a year
Nice.
to go to college. So I'm going to college, and I found out I was not ready for college. And it was
An
like,
ACT score does not a college student make.
Nope.
Right.
It does not.
Neither
I-
does a scholarship.
right?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was not ready for that. But
Yeah, the prep stuff wouldn't help me anyway, though, because that's like if you're going to prep for it, are you prepping because it's a specific skill
the
in taking
test.
that test, or to refresh everything that's going to be on that test?
taking the test.
It's the former. I think it's
Yeah.
the skill of taking the test. And so I get on a soapbox about this sometimes, but I think that in our current academic world, what we measure over and over and over again is somebody's ability to take a multiple choice test. Okay, and we're not measuring their ability to be
Right.
successful in the world or contribute to society or whatever it really takes to be part of this world.
Yeah.
We're not measuring that. We're measuring the ability to take a multiple choice test.
and that determines what school you get into, possibly.
Yes.
If you get into
That's
school.
that's scary putting it that way.
right?
If you think about like my world with medicine, I mean, think about what we did. So we all had to take the ACT, SAT, and then to get into med school, you take the MCAT, and then you get into med school, and then you take all of our tests in med school were multiple choice. So those tests are all multiple choice. And then you take the boards. There's 3 steps to the board. Step 1, 2, and 3, multiple choice test, multiple choice test, multiple choice test, right? And then we did our specialty, in my case, ophthalmology, and there's the boards for ophthalmology, which is another multiple choice test.
Do you think the multiple choice is done because of efficiency?
Absolutely.
And I mean, that's the
Yeah.
only reason, because nobody wants to sit there and actually test your education,
Well,
your knowledge.
It goes back to around World War II. They when people were coming back from the service, they needed a rapid way to assess people, to put them into colleges and everything that they were trying to do. And they invented I might have the dates wrong, I can't remember World War I or World War II, but
Right.
it was earlier in the early 1900s, mid 1900s.
Right.
They came up with the Scantron technology as a rapid way of just assessing things quickly. And so that was what started the whole multiple choice
Wow.
thing. And then the guy the educator who actually invented the Scantron later came back and said, this was never designed to be the standard. This was just a quick fix.
for a temporary problem.
Right.
We're going to take care of this real
That's
quick, and then we'll
interesting.
move forward. But
Right.
everybody said, "Oh, this is good.
Right.
This is good."
and now we all, it's become the standard way because of efficiency.
There was some comfort knowing that the answer is in front of you. Like of those 3 or 4 answers, the correct answer
right
is there. But they just worded it where you outthink yourself and you just think yourself into a knot because it's like the answers are so similar.
Did you ever answer just based on design?
100%. Iowa basics, man. I wasn't a student. I'm the first one to admit that, and especially I'm not a good test taker at all.
Well, it's a skill. It's a skill that just to take the test, and it doesn't measure knowledge necessarily that well. Yeah,
is what it does measure. Patience. I mean, and just to be able to.
I look at my kids now and like how much standardized testing they do in grade school, elementary school, and they'll take like days off of learning to take these tests.
And they're not that they're preparing for it, but having conversations the night before saying tomorrow and the next day are my blah 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 tests,
right? And
I've got to get ready for this and that. I'm like, I never thought about when it was Iowa Basics week. I think it was like a week or a few days that we took them.
What's Iowa Basics?
Kind of like a elementary school, like I guess standardized test for
Iowa Basics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've never heard of that. Now Saunders County,
Douglas
Western
County,
Douglas, I don't
DC.
know. Right.
So we didn't have prep or anything. We just took them and whatever.
Well, the teachers, now they teach to the tests, right? So everything's about making the test scores better so that everybody looks better. And I understand why those motivations are there, but I just worry that are we missing the mark of what school should be about?
Yeah, that's true. If they're teaching to the test,
right?
You're teaching because you know what the system is,
right?
So you've got to work the system,
right? And if you don't play by the rules, if you're teaching to the test, that test really better be an accurate way of preparing people for the world,
right?
And I don't know that we've
because like when you have algebra 1, 2, advanced, all this kind of stuff, my son now he's very very got the math brain, right? He wants to double up on math next year, his junior year, and take an algebra 2 and advance this and that, and get out of the it's not called consumer math, but it's like the real life stuff, the balancing of checkbooks and the learning about interest rates and credit scores, and get out of that because that's not sexy. It's the trigonometry and all those that colleges look at, which it should be flipped around.
There should be absolutely a life skills class. Yep. Growing up they called it home ec to a degree, which was a misnomer because it excluded boys. By and large, there were some boys that might cross the line.
I've never made a tank top since then. Just saying, I've never made a tank top. I've never sewed anything.
A bundt cake.
Or a bundt. Maybe I've made a bundt cake, but it was a box cake, never by scratch. But it's just like they blanket with all this stuff that you don't really need to know.
Yeah.
Well, my daughter did just take a personal finance class.
That's great.
In high school, and it was fantastic. I mean, I thought the curriculum was very realistic, and I think she got a lot out of it. It's the first time she's ever understood what a bank statement is and
that's great.
Checking account and things like that. So, there is some of it, but I don't know whether that was required or whether that was something she took as an elective. I actually don't know, but then it was available.
Then when you have kids that are growing up, because your daughter and my son are the same age.
Okay.
And he just got a checking account last week.
Right.
Got himself a jizob, right? So he's getting the direct deposits, and when we're sitting there at Pinnacle Bank and we're talking about the stuff, and they're saying, okay, for an extra $5 you can get paper statements. And he looks at me and says, "What's a statement?" And I felt like such a but I've never talked. He's never seen me because I've never gotten a paper statement.
Well, you have, but just not the last 15 years or 10 years,
25 years,
whatever.
I know. Ever since you could get digital statements, I've never got because I never sat down with paper and did it myself. I never did.
Right. Balance your checkbook.
Ever.
So even when you did get paper statements, it didn't.
I always was online, and I looked at it online to make sure stuff was current. I never ever balanced the paper checkbook.
Yeah. Well,
I never did.
For me, the paper was just a reminder that I needed to get
good.
online. That's how I used the paper. The paper would come like, I got to get online.
100%. I check my bank. I check that almost every day. Just to see where things are and what's going on, just to, because I want to know, but I hate the whole idea of, I've never really balancing your checkbook. I remember balancing a checkbook.
Mm-hmm. I remember watching my mom do it, but I never did it.
In late 80s, early 90s. Absolutely. I was balancing a checkbook.
I was 12.
You were not. You graduated high school in the early 90s.
92.
Okay. Oh my God. Anyway, whatever.
That's early 90s. That counts as early 90s.
That's way early 90s.
You didn't have a checking account then, did you?
It's almost 80s.
I did not have a checking account. That's why I didn't balance one. I didn't have a checking account.
There we go. And there's the answer. Okay, so you both have 16-year-olds driving?
Yeah, driving.
We'll be driving June 28th.
You ready to go? How'd that work?
You know what? It's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very, very cautious and careful.
Did she want to drive?
she wanted to drive. So many of her friends don't. It's so interesting.
Crazy, right?
Like for me, I started lining up the DMV like 2 weeks before my birthday.
Right.
Like I was ready to go,
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids now, they just aren't as interested in it for whatever reason. And so, some of her friends just are, don't get their license for a few months after their birthday. It's kind of interesting.
That's crazy.
President Kennedy was shot on my dad's 16th birthday, so he had to wait 3 days after because everything was shut down.
Yeah.
He was disappointed. He was upset. When you're 16, man, you can't get your license. Everybody else is crying because the president, he's crying because he can't get his license.
Wow.
It was rough. Yeah. Okay, so in car insurance now, we're dealing with this with the 16-year-old and the car insurance. Yes. Oh. Okay, so when the kid's 16, it really can't have a vehicle in their name.
Right.
So you put the kid on your insurance, but do they have to be like the primary driver of a car? And this is super boring for everybody else who's never 16-year-old. Do they have to be the primary driver of a specific car? Can you just add them to right? Can you just add them to the blanket? I just don't want to pay $1,000 a month for a 16-year-old driver.
Okay, so now we're getting into an area which I have no expertise, but I can pretend like I do. Is that fair?
You're a dad.
Welcome.
So yeah. So my understanding is that the primary car that they drive has a big impact on their insurance rates.
Okay.
If you put them in a really fast-moving sports car,
Red car.
yeah, with whatever, and they actually look at what the car is capable of doing. That can affect the rates quite a bit. So we got her a car to drive that's quite slow, and
Put a governor on it.
doesn't have a governor. It's just not a fast car,
Okay.
and she doesn't care. That's not on her list of features that she even cares about.
Not a go-to. Good.
The only thing she cared about was she wanted to be able to stream music on her from her phone.
Fair
That
enough.
was the
Do
only
that.
thing.
We can figure
and
that out.
That's pretty easy to get nowadays.
You bet.
But my understanding is that does have a big effect.
Yeah.
Is which car is their primary car?
Interesting.
Yeah.
And my son
Yeah.
knows nothing about vehicles. Obviously, I'm not a good role model because I know nothing about cars. It's not like one of my things that I know everything about cars and the engines and the whatever. Beth was asking him, my wife Beth was asking him what kind of car he wanted, just in general. And he just said a long one.
A long one?
There you
Like-
go.
I don't even know what that, he doesn't know because a long one like dad's. I have a Passat. So it's not a long car. So I don't know what
wants
he means.
a four-door,
Like a 78 Oldsmobile.
sedan?
If that's what he wanted,
He
that'd be
wants a
sweet.
sedan.
I don't
Give him
know.
a Crown Vic.
She's like, you should be ashamed of yourself. A long one. She was saying that to me, not him.
I bet so.
Like, I don't know what.
What have you taught this boy?
Nothing.
Get him one of those Buick station wagons we used to ride in the back of.
The wood panel.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Family
yeah.
truckster.
And
Yeah.
insurance might be happy about that because
Right.
they're pretty solid.
And kids nowadays don't. It seems
They're
like
not
at least
fast.
the kind of the quirkier, funkier the car is.
Yeah.
It's kind of cooler. So maybe that would be cool.
Yeah.
Maybe that'd be the way to go.
Yeah.
Something a little more not historic. What's the word I'm looking for? Retro.
Retro.
Retro. That's the word I was looking for. Retro. Something a little more retro. That's cool. Retro is cool. Oh my gosh. All right. So I don't even know what else we need to cover here.
Well, we've covered pretty much everything from car insurance to yelling parents at tennis. We're just glad that and thank you guys for supporting our podcast.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. And we've talked about the fact before. You guys are hometown boys.
Yeah.
Both you guys, Husker, Creighton fans, you cover everybody.
Yeah, we have a wide range of interests and people that I think that we really enjoy helping. And it's certainly a focus on local and focus on Omaha. We really try to be part of the community, not just from what we're doing professionally, but just really engaging in the community is really important to us. And so that's what we're trying to do.
That's excellent. I am so happy and was thrilled to be working with you guys and that you guys supported our podcast. I try to keep Pat online so he doesn't say anything offensive.
We tried out a new tagline. I don't know if they
geez.
told you about this. Was it a couple weeks ago? Go to Kugler Vision before you die.
That's great. That's brilliant.
I mean, it cuts right through. You can have it for free. Cuts
That's-
right through.
That's brilliant. It captures everything.
Right.
Yeah.
It does.
Right.
Don't miss your opportunity.
Right. Don't miss your opportunity.
Well, it's kind of funny because people think they're either too young or they think they're too old for what we're doing. That's a common thing that we hear both sides of it, and that's actually not true. I mean, there is no age restriction on what we can do to help people. Now there may be certain things that we can't do at certain ages, or they're, certainly the options that we present are different at every age. We have 7 different ways that we fix vision. Everyone's heard of LASIK, but there's 6 other ways.
See, that's the kind of stuff that people don't realize. And we were talking too about, because Pat's had the procedure done, but his eyes have changed. And one time somebody had mentioned something about it wearing off. And it's like, well, it doesn't wear off. Your eyes are just constantly changing.
Yeah. So the fact that you graduated in 92, I mean, I can figure out how old you are. And so you're getting into your 40s where, your lens inside the eye has trouble seeing up close. It has trouble changing focus. And that's got nothing to do with LASIK wearing off. That's just because we're in our 40s. And so these changes happen throughout stages. And so what we try to do for people, and you saw this when you were in to see us, is we really try to kind of plot out for you what the next 30, 40 years looks like.
Right.
Because it's not just, I'm going to go in and have my eyes fixed now. It's, okay, well, what about in 10 years and 20 years and 30 years? And what we're always thinking about is whatever we're going to do now, we want to set you up for the next stage so that it's just as successful as the first one.
Right.
So it's a big picture approach.
It's highly educational to go through all the testing, because it's not just about what you can see. It's about a lot more than just your sight. It's about just the total eye health.
Yeah.
Because you don't think about it. It's like, man, something goes wrong. It's your eyes.
Yeah.
Well, the first step is the ocular analysis, the eye analysis that we do. And you went through that. And
yes.
It's sort of like getting an MRI of the eye. I mean, we can look at everything now.
It's amazing.
And so we have
crazy.
We have a really good idea of what your vision is and what you're capable of now, and also what the future looks like. And so we always have to plot that out. Because sometimes someone will come in and we'll say, you know what, we could do something like LASIK now, but that's going to cause a problem for you in 5 or 6 or 10 years because of whatever reason that we see. So we don't, even though you'd be fine for 5, 10 years, we don't recommend it now. And so we're thinking ahead, in that situation, and we might say, you know what, you're better off not doing anything now.
Yeah.
Let's talk in 10 years. So that we do have that conversation on a pretty high percentage basis. So, it's just real important to have that initial, eye analysis so that you can really figure out what the options are and what the future looks like.
That's
cool.
what I'm saying.
Well, I'm going to figure out what my options are on Thursday. I'm excited to get in and see everybody.
Yeah. No, we're looking forward to it.
That'll be great.
Well, thanks.
Dr. Kugler, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
This is
anytime you
great.
want, just come on in.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, more, what do we have at the top of the talk? Oh, yeah, it was fetish videos. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Noise.
It's important to start with that.
Yeah. It's Pat and JT on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, 402-403-9478. Thanks for listening to our podcast.
Pat and JT Podcast, a Parkville Media Production.